Hi, Paul. It's not time to eat yet. Paw. Paw, why are you giving me the sad face? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Rossi, and if you aren't subscribed, go ahead and click that subscribe button because I have new vlogs that come out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We talk about all the things that you may need to know and all the things that you may not need to know. I literally filmed a 20-minute video all about my pets, and yeah, the microphone wasn't on. So, of course. Why would it be on? I've made this mistake several times, so why would I not make it again for the millionth, trillionth time? Like, I need to just put like a sticky note on my camera that says, is the mic on? Because I can't believe I filmed like this really long, really heartfelt video all about my animals and their stories, and I literally didn't have the mic on. Like, I can't even believe it right now. Like, I'm just so annoyed at myself. So I have been getting a lot of requests. You guys have been asking me a lot about my pets. It's actually kind of funny. My nickname for people who know me is Dr. Doolittle. Reason being is because I seriously love animals so much it's not even funny. I have a lot of pets as well. I have 4 dogs, 2 horses, a ferret, and I used to have a rabbit, but my rabbit passed away. He was so cool. My rabbit was this lion head bunny, and for those of you who don't know what a lion head bunny is, they have like this plume of hair around them and around like their head, and they look like little lions. And he was so cool because you'd call his name and he'd come like running up to you, and you'd like put a cookie in your mouth and he would take the cookie from you, and he was honestly like the coolest bunny ever. I miss him so much. Rest in peace, Colin. So I wanted to talk about my pets and give you a little backstory about all of my pets. I guess the first pet we'll start with is my very first pet, which is Charles. He's not really my first pet, but he's my first pet as an adult, and he's my first dog. Charles is a nickname for Charlie. I rescued Charlie at a rescue in 2008. He was a year old and he was a stray. And the funny story is, when I came to the shelter, the lady totally advised against me even acknowledging Charlie because he was like aggressive and, you know, didn't like people. Even though once I acknowledged him, he came running to me, and it was almost as if he like was begging me to take him home. So of course I did, and the crazy thing is that this was a Friday. I adopted him on a Friday, and he was scheduled to be euthanized that following Monday. So instead of getting euthanized, he got his balls chopped off. I mean, that's like a good trade-off, right? After I rescued Charlie, about a year later, I decided I wanted another dog, and so I went back to the shelter, and the shelter actually had somebody who had dropped off like a litter of yellow lab puppies, and I just fell in love with them. And so I like picked out one of the puppies and I was like, let's see how this one interacts, you know. And he like stumbled and he was goofy and he was totally not coordinated, and I was like, he would be perfect for me. I need him in my life. So I rescued Sam. So Samson and Charles are my 2 babies that I've had the longest. I got Charles in 2008 and Sam in 2009. And Charles is really goofy. You would never know he's as old as he is because he has so much energy, whereas Sam is very like ho-hum. He likes to sleep a lot. He's kind of lazy, but he's the sweetest dog ever, and I just love them both. Fast forward to a few years later, and I ended up getting a ferret named Giorgio. Giorgio ended up moving with my mom later on because my ex-fiance didn't like ferrets. So my mom took Giorgio, and Giorgio was so cool. He was like the prettiest ferret I've ever had or ever seen, and I've had ferrets my whole life. Giorgio was awesome. Then a few years later, in 2014, I got my first horse. Originally, I actually was going to adopt Caden Cross's horse from her horse named Conti. And the thing about horses is horses pick you as much as you pick them. And Conti and I just didn't mesh. So I was like, you know what? I really want a horse, thanks, but no thanks, I don't want this horse. I ended up finding Virgil on like an ad online, and so I went and I fell in love with Virgil. Virgil has the most beautiful markings on his side. He has like a broken heart shape, and then he has an upside down heart on his eye, and then he's a medicine hat. So a medicine hat in ancient Indian times was highly looked at and sought after. Like they were considered very spiritual and majestic and just overall like the best. Like you wanted a medicine hat, and only the healers supposedly had medicine hats. That's just the story that I've heard. And then Virgil had these like crystal blue eyes, and I just fell in love with him. He was sassy, and he was grumpy, and he was curious and adventurous, and all the things that I was looking for in a horse, he was. So Virgil and I have a very special bond. He's been with me through some really dark times, and the bond that Virgil and I have is like no other. I can't even describe it. Like I literally am obsessed with Virgil, and he's obsessed with me. And what's kind of funny is he is kind of a dick to everyone else. I mean, he's a nice horse, don't get me wrong, but like I can push his buttons, but nobody else can. He's just kind of no. He's like, don't even try me. In 2015, I ended up getting Tiny. Tiny is my 5-pound Pomeranian. Her real name is Dior, but she doesn't even know that's her name. She doesn't even come to it. So Tiny is actually from a breeder, but I call him like a backyard breeder, because I'm such a rescue girl. Like I love rescuing animals, and I believe in rescuing, and I kind of am like, I feel kind of dirty like going to a breeder, but I really wanted like a specific breed, and I wanted the specific dog, and I wanted like this, you know, bear Pomeranian looking doll, kind of like the Boo dog. And so my grandmother and I went to this like shady, creepy, totally sketchy breeder's house, and it was like in the middle of the night. It was super sketchy, and we ended up seeing Tiny, and Tiny was the runt of the litter. So I just fell in love with Tiny, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want her. So that's how I obtained Tiny. So then a few years later, I ended up getting Juliette because I wanted Virgil to have a friend. And Juliette's story is kind of crazy. I rescued Juliette from a rescue, and she actually comes from a prestigious bloodline. She comes from a bloodline secretariat, and she literally is the most beautiful, loving, sweet horse I've ever met in my life. It's almost like she's a puppy dog, and she's not a horse. It's the weirdest thing. So Juliette, when I went to the rescue that she was being kept at, the people actually advised me against her, and they were like, look, she's really a hard handful, she is bridle shy, she's this, she's that, she was abused, she's, you know, probably never gonna find a home. Well, they told me that, and I was like, okay, I fell in love with her because she was just the sweetest horse. And granted, she did have a lot of problems, but we've worked through them, and we're still working through some of our problems with her, but she has turned into the most amazingly sweet horse. Like, she would never hurt a fly. Like, you could smack her butt or pull her tail, and she would not even try to do anything to you. She's never bitten anyone, she's never kicked anyone. She's just totally sweet. Whereas Virgil is totally opposite. Like, if you mess with him, like, he'll bite you or kick you. Like, he does not like to have his buttons pushed. Then then after I like had all these pets, I was like, you know what I need another pet. So I ended up getting Frank, my ferret, and I got Frank when he was a little guy. He was only a few weeks old, and I just fell in love with Frank. Frank is so goofy. Out of all my ferrets, he's probably the sweetest of them. And like I said, I've had ferrets my whole life. So Frank is just such a sweet little guy, and he's best friends with Tiny. Tiny and Frank are the bestest of friends. I can't even get over it. It's literally the cutest thing ever when they play together. Then, of course, because I needed another animal, I was in the airport one day and I saw this lady with a standard poodle. I fell in love. I was like, oh my God, I literally need a standard poodle in my life. Like, I need a poodle so bad. So I did all this research and I became totally obsessed with poodles, and I found a breeder. And I know I felt so bad like going to a breeder, but I couldn't find, like I checked all the rescues, checked all the shelters, and I just realized that I needed a younger dog that would fit in with the rest of my dogs. So I needed a puppy, and I found this breeder who was totally ethically great. I loved how she became an actual breeder because she was so against like all the other breeders and how tacky and bad they were and how awful they treated the dogs. And I did some research, and she treats her dogs so good, and the whole setup that she had was just really professional, really good, and it wasn't like a backyard breeder situation like it was with Tiny. So here I am playing with these puppies that were just delivered like a few weeks prior, and this little black and white one comes and sits in my lap, and I fall in love. And I named her Polly. So Paul is her nickname, and Paul has just turned in to become the most awesome dog ever. She's so sweet, she's so loving, she's so caring, and I just am so happy. And she's gonna have her first birthday next week, and we're gonna throw a party, and it's gonna be so much fun. And I just love Polly. She's so cute. She's what you call a party poodle because of her markings, and oh my gosh, she's just the best. So that is basically my pet story. If you are new and you don't follow me, I am a huge animal lover, and to answer some of your guys' questions, no, I'm not vegan or vegetarian. I love meat. I really love lamb chops, and I also love the meat, like the charcuterie boards, like meat and cheese just put together is so good. So unfortunately, even though I'm a huge animal lover, I still really like meat and I feel kind of bad about it, but you know, whatever. That's the short little story of my animals. I did have a longer video, but I was a doofus again for the millionth time because I literally make this mistake all the time, and I didn't realize it until the lighting changed. So that sucks too. That is my story. I hope you guys enjoyed my quick little video about my animals and how much I love them and how much they mean to me. It's really funny because so many people are like, you know, you're 31 now, when are you gonna have a kid? And I'm like, I'd really love a kid, but if they're gonna take away from my animals, I just don't really know. I don't really know. I don't know. Like, I could get another animal like that, but a kid is like a big commitment. Well, so is an animal. I'm a firm believer that if you get an animal, you need to keep them for the duration of their life. Like, that's it. But animals, what I love most about them is that they love you unconditionally, and all they want to do is be loved and love you in return, and they're just there for you. They comfort you. They make you feel so good about just loving them. Like, they're just so sweet. I could go on and on and on about my animals, but anyways, this was my video. My name is Brett Rossi, and thank you for tuning in. I have new vlogs every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so if you haven't subscribed, please do so, and I promise next time I will have the mic on. I was actually going to do a mukbang, my very first mukbang. I was gonna do like a fall theme mukbang because it's the 1st of September and fall's my favorite season, but then I was like, you know what? Everyone really wants to know about my animals, so I'm gonna do like a little video about my animals, maybe do a mukbang some other time. Not to mention I was like too lazy to go to the place that I was gonna do the mukbang at. So maybe Friday's video will be a mukbang, who knows. But thanks for tuning in and I'll see you next time.